When I first got diagnosed, well, before I even got diagnosed, I had to have the Hartman's procedure done, which was get like a foot or two of my bowel removed. So when I was in surgery, I aspirated because where I had the bowel blockage, nothing could kind of go down, so they had to intubate me. And the next morning when I woke up, which I had a drink, I was kind of like, you know, fighting with it, you know. Like I had this tube down my throat, and so they had a poster with like a little marker board with a marker. So my good friend Dave, who was there, he gave me the marker, and they asked, you know, how are you doing type of thing, or whatever. And, you know, like tried to write something and they couldn't make it out, and I tried to write it again, they couldn't make it out. They're like, well, why don't you put it in his right hand? And he goes, but he's left-handed. And I said, so anyway, my friend Dave goes, you know, oh, Jody, the surgery went well, they took out the tumor, everything was all good. So I wrote, sell it on eBay. And of course I thought I dreamt all this, but it actually did happen. So then they asked me, you know, they noticed I was like really uncomfortable and everything, they were saying, what's wrong? So I wrote something, and you know, what's wrong? So they wrote, well, you know, wiped it clean, I wrote it again. No. So they said, can you act it out? What's wrong? So I said, all right. Well, I never said it, but you know, of course, you know, I went like it, and I pointed with my incision, and I went like this as in fucking, and I went like this as it hurts. So they went like it fucking hurts. They knocked me back out. So that was the first experience I had in the ICU. So my friend Leslie worked with young adult cancer, and she said to me, she said, did the doctor talk to you about fertility? And I was like, no. And she said, well, maybe you should get your sperm frozen just in case you wanted to have kids. And I said, okay, no problem. So I went to the fertility clinic, and they said to me that, you know, it's probably about $300 or $400, you know, for us to store your sperm for, I think it was like 3 years. She said, if you can't afford it, we can do it for you, you can pay for it. I said, okay, that's fine. And best time, of course, means good and all that stuff. So anyway, they said, you know, don't do anything for a few days, and then come back. So I came back, and I went to a little room, and the little movie was on. So anyway, you know, I do my business, and there's this little young nurse there, and it was her first day. So the older lady was telling me, you should ask him this, and you should ask him that, and there I was with my cup, and I was like... So it took a little while for all the process to go through. So anyway, later that afternoon, I got a call, and she said, you know, we did your sperm count, and you got 2. I was like, 2 million, awesome. And she goes, no, you have like 2. And I was like, really? And she goes, yeah. She said, you know, you go on the laptop. And I was like, no. Do you do this? No. Do you do this? No. And she goes, well, we don't write you off until the second test. I said, okay, fine. Come back in 2 days. All right, so I came back in 2 days, did the whole sign and dance again. And then I got the call later in the afternoon. She goes, well, our test confirmed it. You only have 2. I was like, oh. And she goes, so you won't be able to have children. And I was like, okay, no problem. And I didn't know if I wanted kids at the time, right? And I was kind of reading out for the process because I was at the laundromat. So anyway, she said, there's no need for you to come back for the third day, right? And I was like saying to myself, well, how am I supposed to find out how to move games if I don't go back to the the 2 are going to be together, what happens in the story, right? So anyway, I said, you know, fine, that's all well and good, and you know, I'll be okay. So anyway, ever since I got diagnosed with cancer, I go to visit my mom once a week, and there's a Subway in Holyoke, which is about 10 minutes away from town. So I usually stop there for lunch and then bring some over to her. So Mrs. was making my salad and she drops it on the floor. So she picks it up, puts it back on the counter and says, well, what would you like on it? So I I'm saying to myself, I said, well, I already got cancer. Dirt can't really hurt me. So I said, I'll have lettuce, onions, and pickles. So she put it on, and that was it. She never asked me to put it on anymore. Just continued to make it, and then later. So for my hospital stay, the second time, well, the third time actually, the second time nothing really funny happened, except going to the bathroom about 16 times a day. So when I had my lung surgery, they were wheeling me back in after surgery, the fellow was there, and the nurse was asking me because I had a blood clot before, so they had to put these really itchy leg things on that had like a pressure sensor, so they needed to have my weight. So the nurse asked me, she said, you know, how much do you weigh? I said, well, I weigh about 215 pounds, but depending on how much of the lung they cut out of me, I said, it could be 5 or, you know. So anyway, she kind of like looked at me funny, and I said, 250. So then I was in hospital for about 5 days, and when I finally got out, you know, like I don't think any of us had lung surgery here. Have they? No? No takers? Okay. Anyway, so what they do for the lung surgery is pretty much they open up your ribs and feel in, and if you feel the cancer or whatever, and cut it out. So of course you can't really bend or kind of do anything because of the, you know, where the ribs had been split. So we get home, and I lie down because I'm a little tired. And Cabell and her mother, who was staying with us at the time, were going to go to the store. So of course, Sarah was lying on the bed, and I was like, man, I feel like get something to drink. So I said, I want to try to get up. So I tried to sit, and it hurt so hard. And I was like, fuck.
You should have demonstrated this on the floor.
Yeah. Well, I kind of can stand up and demonstrate. But anyway, I tried to stand, and I couldn't do it, and I was like, how am I going to get up? Because in the hospital, I slept on a slant, so I could kind of just slide and go in. So I was like, I'm like a turtle. I'm on my back, and I'm kind of like, so finally, after I rolled over a few times, I kind of rolled myself out of the bed, and I made my way out. So actually, well, before that, when I had to get my PET scan done, I'm sure many of you probably have PET scans, they put the radioactive glucose in your body. So when I was having my test done, the radiologist there was like, you know, when are you flying back? And I was like, tonight. He said, oh. And I was like, why? He said, because you're radioactive. And I was like, really? And he's like, yes, you're radioactive. He said, you could set off the scanners at the airport. I was like, oh, this can't be good. And he said, well, I'll give you a letter. I said, all right. So he gave me this letter, and he said, now, whatever you do, don't say you're radioactive at the airport. He said, if they ask you, give them the letter. You know, if not, don't. But luckily enough, the half-life was already done, so of course, I luckily didn't have to set up any scanners, which I know was not what we were expecting to hear, but that's what happened. So to end up a little bit of stories, some of you guys heard this in one of the groups already, but Norm Macdonald did a comedy special, and part of his bit was on bowel cancer, which I've seen it just after I got out of the hospital from my bowel surgery, so I thought it would be pretty funny. So anyway, he said, you know, my grandfather has bowel cancer, you know, and they always say it's this battle. Everybody got to have this battle, you know, you're fighting this battle with cancer, right? And he goes, no, he's fighting this battle? Sitting in bed watching Matlock. He said, how do you fight a battle sitting in bed watching Matlock? And he said, you know, and with this battle, he said, you're fighting cancer, and he said, you know, if cancer wins, it dies, because, you know, the body dies too. He said, it's not like the cancer, as soon as the patient dies, the cancer jumps up and says, where's his wife? I'm going to get his wife. You know, oh, I'm going to his job. Where's his desk? Hi, my name is Bowell. Last name cancer. And that's pretty much it. So